Coming up next, we have a panel discussion on the future of procurement as a career. The panel discussion will be moderated by Dr. Umesh Malik, Vice President and Head, Reliance Procurement and Contracting Academy, Reliance India Limited. Dr. Malik has close to 3 decades of professional experience in the field of procurement and contracting, materials management, and learning and development. Mr. Malik has managed direct and indirect material procurement, including feedstocks, service contracting, materials management, and a variety of strategic transformational initiatives, while serving as the site head for procurement and materials management at one of Reliance India Limited's manufacturing facilities. Mr. Malik moved to the corporate office in Mumbai for a business transformation project and is now in charge of developing the competence and capability improvement plans for the PNC function at the corporate level for all the Reliance India Limited business verticals as the head of Reliance Procurement and Contracting Academy. Over to you, Dr. Malik.
Hi, good evening, you all. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you're audible.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Pamela ma'am, for your wonderful introduction. It must be a very tiring day for you, isn't it?
No, it's okay. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Right. So, hello and welcome, my distinguished panelists and global audience joining us today. I'm truly honored to welcome you all to this thought provoking panel discussion on procurement as a career and its future. Now, since morning, we have heard a lot about procurement as a function, its transformation over a period, and a few speakers have talked about the way forward as well. And if I need to summarize, I can easily summarize that today, the success of any organization depends a lot on the procurement decisions made within that organization. And as the saying goes, the organization do not compete, but their supply chains do. So, what has changed? So, procurement, once being considered as one of the back office's job, has now emerged as a strategic function, which has a direct impact on an organization's bottom line and reputation. But then, with this growing importance, there is an increasing demand for skilled and forward thinking procurement professionals. Organizations now are on a quest for talent that can navigate the complexities of the procurement to mitigate the supply chain risk and drive supplier collaborated innovation within the procurement function. And today, in this last session of the conference before the closing remarks, I have the privilege of having a panel of distinguished experts who in one way or other are associated with the procurement and have excelled in it. Their experiences, insights, and expertise promises to shed lights on procurement as a career and its future. So without any much ado, let me introduce the panel members for today's discussion. I have Mr. Ghanshyam Das Bhagwani, the Executive Director, Assets Management of Eastern Corridor of Dedicated Freight Corridor Corporation of India Limited, a veteran of more than 3 decades of experience in various fields. I'm happy to introduce my friend, Mr. Jonathan Endean, the Vice President, Learning Solutions for Skill Dynamics, a UK-based company that offers high-impact digital learning solutions on supply chain for corporate teams and helping them in upskilling and reskilling their workforce. I'm privileged to introduce Dr. Vinoth Kumar C, who comes from healthcare sector and currently is a group head supply chain management at Jehangir Hospitals and an accomplished talent development leader. And the last name in the panel is of Mr. Manoj Yermalkar, who is heading the supply chain management at ACG Engineering and himself is a thought leader in supply chain. He has successfully established supply chains in Southeast Asia and China and has been associated with ISM now for quite some time. Once again, I welcome you all, my dear panelists. So let me begin with throwing a compelling questions to the panelists. The disruption which is happening due to technological advancements, geopolitical shifts, sustainability imperatives, and of course, due to the unforeseen challenges like the recent pandemic, have reshaped the way companies now approach procurement. And as today in this panel discussion, we are going to deep dive into the world of procurement and the opportunities it presents, let me ask this question to my panelist. Why pursue procurement as a career? In today's dynamic job market where career choices are abundant, what makes procurement stand out as an attractive choice? And now the house is open for the discussion, and I'll go in alphabetical order. So I invite Mr. Bhagwani to share his thoughts on this question: why pursue procurement as a career?
Thank you very much, Jay, for your introduction and giving me this opportunity. Procurement as a career. As today, in a technology-driven world where things are getting very, very visible, enabled, and centralized, the procurement function, which was earlier being managed in a very, very decentralized manner, has become more and more centralized, and now one can see the data, one can analyze the data, and as a whole in a organization, the procurement total forms a significant part of the organization. Given that background, given this very significant or large chunk in the expenditure being incurred by the organization, the importance of the procurement is growing day by day. And anybody who is wanting a career is wanting opportunity to grow, opportunity to work, opportunity to do something fascinating. This career offers all those elements. It offers visibility in terms of within the organization, because the roles are very, very important to the organization. In terms of outside, he is one of the key person who will be dealing with suppliers. So there again, the lot of visibility, that offers lot of visibility. In terms of opportunities, in terms of growth, this is the very, very significant. In terms of interpersonal skills, this is a challenge, and more, it can be seen as an opportunity for one to perform. And now with the technology being more and more enabler, the it has become rather easy day by day to take informed decisions. So all the elements are here, and therefore this career is really very, very exciting for the young ones.
So thank you, Mr. Bhagwani, for sharing your thoughts. You have rightly brought out the point, visibility, growth, and managing stakeholders. Jonathan, would you like to add something more on what Mr. Bhagwani has said?
Absolutely, and thank you for your time today and the opportunity to speak on this great panel. I just want to take a step back and really just reflect on the procurement value proposition and really how that's evolved significantly over the last decade. Largely driven as a result of macro socioeconomic factors like deglobalization, the fourth industrial revolution, climate change, more recently COVID and inflation. But really, if we look at this at an organization or global level, these factors have influenced how procurement leaders and teams have had to adapt and respond to multiple complex challenges. If you think about during COVID, how CPOs and their teams really had to step up their game. And this really helped earn greater respect and build a better profile for procurement within organizations. I strongly believe that procurement has now got a seat at the table, and we're no longer having to fight for that time with the exco. So I think procurement has become more and more of a strategic enabler to organizations, and whilst delivering cost savings and supporting the bottom line is still core, there are other things that are becoming more and more of a priority. So playing more of a strategic role in building more resilient supply chains. As we've discovered through COVID, supply shortages. How do we get a more resilient supply chain together to minimize these risks? The risk management, helping drive innovation, supporting organizations through digital transformation, not just the digital transformation of procurement, but the organization as a whole. And then I think also importantly, supporting top line growth. I think procurement is now starting to play a role in thinking about how organizations can innovate and grow and build their competitive advantage. So now let's bring that into the career focus. I think a career in procurement offers a set of dynamic and diverse opportunities, skills, and expertise that are transferable across sectors. These skills and expertise are high in demand, and that demand keeps growing and growing. And I think, that's not just at a generalist level, not at a management level, it's also at a specialist and individual contributor level. I believe the demand will continue to grow. It'll make the future of procurement and associated career paths very compelling and rewarding. I also think that we need to think of careers within procurement not as paths, but a web, a network, because there are so many transferable skills that opens up that opportunity to be a little bit more mobile in the organization. And then the much bigger picture is that the skills gained in procurement are highly transferable into more senior roles in other functions too. So it's not just about mobility in procurement, but also mobility across the broader organization. And so I think the future of procurement as a profession and a career is definitely heading in the right direction.
Absolutely fantastic, Chana. And I think you have brought out a very good point, which you mentioned versatility of the procurement professionals. And today, the procurement professionals have taken a center stage, in the organization hierarchy. That's a very, very valid point. And on that note, I invite Mr. Manoj to share his thoughts on the question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Malik. And good evening, good morning to all the participants, to all the team members, whichever part of the globe we are. And thanks ISM India for providing this opportunity. I have been associated with ISM for quite some time, as you mentioned, close to 6 years, and got multiple opportunities like this. So, had I not been in procurement, I would not have been associated with ISM India. So that is the first thing which I would like to mention over here. And why one should choose procurement as a career? Honestly, it will transform you as an individual. You become a professional in true sense. It generates so many insights within you in terms of your personality, in terms of your aspirations, in terms of your the passion. Procurement, when you start as a career, I can tell you that the person who is raw at that stage becomes a a truly a person or professional with a global perspective if you do this job consistently, and with a passion. In a 5 years he can see the transformation within him. That is the first thing which I have also personally experienced, and that's the reason that one should choose procurement as a career. Fine, there are multiple options available, there are multiple career opportunities available, but let's understand the fact that procurement exposes you to various aspects, be it cost, be it managing the time, be it managing the overall business, working capital. It creates a different type of visibility for you as an individual in the organization. You always get recognized if you are giving great results to the organization. I have seen that organization recognizes the talent, and that type of growth, that type of visibility, because you are sitting on a money, you are utilizing company's money, and when you are wisely spending the money, and showing a great optimization in the money that you are spending, showing the value in true sense, that how you are deriving the value to your internal customers and in turn the external customers. That gives a different type of visibility for you as an individual, and your growth is always very fast. I have personally experienced that, and I have experienced all the professionals with whom I am associated with. If you do this job with passion and with a long term vision in your mind, you can definitely become a professional with a global perspective just in 5 years time, which is, in my view, is slightly difficult, or rather it takes some more time in other functions. So that's my take on this particular question of why to choose procurement as a career.
I think Mr. Manoj have rightly pointed out a professional with global perspective, and it's a transformational journey, not only as a professional, but on a personal level too. So on that note, I pose the same question to Dr. Vinoth, who comes from the healthcare sector. So over to you, Vinoth.
Good day, everyone. It is a great honor to be a part of this event. Thanks for this opportunity. From the healthcare perspective, a career in healthcare procurement presents a compelling choice in today's job market for several reasons. The first and foremost, the healthcare is a rapidly growing industry with a constant need of supplies, equipment, and services. This sector's resilience is evident even during economic downturns and pandemic times, providing a job stability and growth potential. Secondly, the healthcare procurement professionals, they have a direct impact on patient care. By efficiently sourcing medical supplies, negotiating contracts, and managing vendor relationships, they contribute to better patient outcomes. And it is a career that combines the business acumen with a sense of social responsibility, making it personally fulfilling. The recent COVID pandemic, it has emphasized the critical nature of the healthcare procurement, and it has highlighted the importance of supply chain and also the need for the skilled procurement professionals who can respond to this unexpected crisis and such kind of supply chain disruption. As a result, the healthcare procurement is not only a compelling career, but also a mission critical one. And more importantly, it's offering professionals a chance to make a meaningful difference in times of need. Overall, the healthcare procurement provides a job stability, career growth potential, social impact, and opportunity to address the global challenges, and making it exceptionally compelling choice in today's job market.
Thank you, Dr. Vinod. I think very, very apt statement that being a procurement professional, you work as part of the mission critical for making the meaningful differences. So thank you all for sharing your insightful initial perspectives on choosing procurement as a career path. Now, what comes out amazingly during our discussion is that the procurement is now a deliberate choice, one that individuals are excited to embrace upon, rather than a career thrust upon them, as it was a story prevailing very much in the recent past. So on that note, let me open a round of questions specific to our distinguished panelists. Please allow me to ask a question to any one of you without being worried about order or hierarchy. So Mr. Bhagwani, my first question is to you. In your career now spanning to close to 3 decades, not only in procurement, probably in constructions, maintenance, and now in asset management, you have worked closely with procurement. In your views, how has the role of procurement evolved in recent years? And what do you envision for its future in the next decade?
Over the years, I have seen procurement growing both in terms of scope of the work and also in terms of activities that are being procured. Coming to the first part of it, the scope. Earlier, the much of the procurement was more of silos kind. If I give you an example, in railways, we used to have different vendors for civil construction, for electrification, and for signaling. Now, not only the entire thing has come together, the entire project has been bundled together and is put to the procurement. So it has grown enormous in size. It has grown across the departments. Both ways it is growing, and also the number of services. Earlier, lot of work in railways, especially, we were doing in-house. Now we are on the other side, and lot of work is being more and more, I would say, is being outsourced, and the concept of core activities being done by the railways is shrinking day by day. So with this ever increasing procurement emphasis, or more and more activities being done on procurement, so scope is growing day by day, and this I perceive is going to continuously grow, because what has been set in the past, now we are constructing on one side and maintaining on the other hand. I personally feel day is not very far when both will come together. Day is not very far when we will try to evaluate the entire process based on life cycle cost, or in a more and more moving towards totality of the things. So with the growing availability of data, these activities are becoming more and more easy, possible, and is the future.
Thank you, Mr. Bhagwani. I think you have rightly pointed it out, how the role of procurement has evolved over a period of time. And now, as we contemplate together the future of procurement as career, now it's essential for us to consider the broader context, in which these careers will unfold. And one critical aspect of this context, in my opinion, is the geographical landscape. So let's now deep dive into a question that hold, according to me, immense relevance. And I will like to address this question to Jonathan. So, Jonathan, how do you foresee the geographical landscape of procurement careers evolving in the future? And especially, I'm addressing this question to you because, being in a learning industry, you are coming across the different industries, and you have seen the CPOs talking to you and spelling out their challenges to you.
Yeah, I think it is definitely taking that as one of the points we discussed earlier, taking that global view. So whilst career development, you always want to get better in your role, it is also about understanding the bigger picture and the broader landscape, and thinking about some of these macro factors that are influencing procurement and the priorities within procurement. I think it's also breaking down those silos and driving cross collaboration across the procurement function and also across the business, and really building those strategic business partnerships. That's vital. I think what we're also starting to notice is that we're also in certain industries, in certain sectors, we're now fighting for supply. So there's competition to get supply and build those resilient supply chains. So I think it's about thinking about the broader ecosystem, and taking your internal and external stakeholders into consideration. and looking at how you can build those win-win relationships. And that does require those interpersonal skills that we mentioned earlier, and the critical thinking and looking at the bigger picture.
Right. So a big picture coming across for the procurement professionals. Dr. Vinoth, I was, listening to your response to the first question, and you mentioned that, healthcare sector is a field wherein procurement requires distinct characteristics and demands. Now, that's very true that different industries come with their unique challenges and requirements as far as procurement as a profession is concerned. But typically in healthcare, it plays a pivotal role ensuring the availability of life-saving resources while adhering to stringent regulation and ethical consideration. If I've summarized your statement. To know more, I would like to deliberate more on this. How does healthcare procurement differ from procurement in other industries? And if I may add a supplement question here, what specialized skills are required for a career in healthcare procurement?
Well, the healthcare procurement differs significantly from procurement in any other industries due to its complexities and also in criticality in nature. In healthcare, as I mentioned, the procurement involves sourcing medical devices, pharmaceutical items, and the essential services necessary for the patient care, which will have life or death implications. And moreover, unlike many industries, the healthcare is highly and heavily regulated, and it requires the professionals to navigate the complex concerns and issues like such as the FDA regulations and CDS, in our country, the Central Drugs Standard Control Organization's guidelines, and the data privacy laws, and many more. And as far as specialized skills for a for a healthcare procurement is concerned, the main one I can say that is on medical knowledge, understanding the healthcare products and its terminology and the clinical needs, which is very essential for making informed decisions. The second one I can say is the regulatory expertise. A proficiency in healthcare specific regulations is required in healthcare procurement. The third one, the next one, the cost management skills, which is like balancing the cost effectiveness with the patient care quality, which is very crucial. The fourth one, the risk assessment. So identifying and mitigating the risk, like the risk has to be identified and which has to be mitigated, so that it can minimize the patient, it can minimize the potential harm that can be caused to the patient. And the next one is the most important, the vendor relation management, where should have a strong negotiation skills and also the ability to maintain the trust-based relationship with the vendors, which is very vital. And the most important one, the last but not the least, is the ethical considerations. The high ethical standards and the capacity to make decisions in the best interest of the patient care is essential in this sensitive field. And all the skills in healthcare procurement requires all the skills, a unique blend of all the skills. It can, like setting it apart from procurement in other industries.
Thank you, Dr. Vinod. And on a lighter side, do you think an MBBS or an MD doctor would be a right choice for a procurement profession?
Could you please repeat, sir?
I said, on a lighter note, do you think an MBBS or MD would be a right choice for the procurement profession?
Yes, sir. A background from medical background is always advantageous because they will have more knowledge about this terminology and the clinical needs they can understand. Otherwise, any background from biology also sufficient, and also in addition to it, additional professional certifications in healthcare supply chain management or those programs are all available in many universities.
Great. Thank you. Very, very interesting insights. Mr. Manoj, I know, being myself associated with ISM, right? You have a very successful career. And today in this panel discussion, as we continue going deeper into the procurement as a function, it's only befitting that we begin understanding the personal motivations and the profound impact that procurement as a career has had on some of us. So, my basic, very fundamental question to you, what inspired you to choose procurement as a career? And what benefits have you personally experienced from this choice? Of course, you had mentioned the transformational journey, not only as professional, but as on a personal level. But besides that, what benefits have you personally experienced?
Good question, great question. Taking me back to the memory lane. Why, what made me to choose procurement as a career? What inspired me to choose procurement as a career? So, are real examples, I would say. The real team members whom I met immediately after completion of my graduation. I'm an engineering graduate. I did my mechanical engineering. There were a couple of senior team members, senior students in my college. So, in early 90s, there were, the search engines were not available. Only the networking and, the I can say the professional groups were just at the infant stage. So to approach the job market, the only option was to connect with your seniors, connect with your colleagues who are already in the industry. I met a couple of my seniors. I used to meet many of them, but two out of these many inspired me a lot, and they were into procurement. That time it was called as a purchasing department, but yet they were working in one of the largest engineering company in Pune, the Maharashtra. I saw the transformation. The guys, the students, my seniors were really raw when they actually, were there in the college. We're only focusing on, you know, getting a job, having some settled job, living their life. When I met them, they were by that time 2 years in the industry, typically into procurement. At that time, I could see the change. They were talking about, 5 years plan, 10 years plan, 15 years plan, how to reach to a level of CEO, how to reach to a level of, CPO. That time the CPO concept was also at a very nascent stage, but still, they were talking in those lines. They were talking as if they are, the business owners of the company which they are heading. And I, on a lighter side, I told them, "Hey guys, you're employees. Why you are thinking so much about the business which you are working in, or the I can say the company you are working in?" And I could see the aggression. I could see the the ownership of the entire business in inside there when they were interacting with me, and that really gave me a thought that this is the career or this is the passion which I was looking at. Believe me, that time I approached my first company. That company refused to select me as a trainee procurement engineer or purchasing engineer because I was lacking the certifications, because I was lacking the skills to market myself as a relevant procurement engineer for that organization. So if I talk about the benefit which I accrued out of this procurement as a function, I'm heading the central procurement team, the entire engineering group of the same company who refused me more than two 2.5 decades back as a trainee engineer. So that's my live example. I took that as a challenge. I said that no, this is the right choice, this is the right organization for me. Absolutely professional, Indian multinational, very systematic, but they refused me. It was really a sort of disappointment for me. Then I learned that okay, we need to gain the certifications, we need to gain the knowledge. So I pursued, see, additional. When I completed my engineering, I was under impression that now the education is over, but no, that was just a beginning. after engineering also you need to learn a lot, and learning never stops. And that particular point of time I realized that yes, learning needs to be continued. And if the benefits, as I mentioned, now I'm a head of supply chain for the entire group of that particular company. The HR team who was there at that time, relatively young, they are almost on the verge of retirement over there, and they still praise me for my journey, and that's the benefit. So not boasting myself, but yes, the benefits are enormous if you derive a plan starting from your assessment up to your next 10, 15, 20 years plan. You can reach to a level of CEO or CPO, and those days are now not far. Earlier it was difficult, but now really it's practically possible, and I have seen that personally. That's my take on this particular question.
Wow, absolutely fantastic, to listen to your wonderful journey from rejection to reaching to the pinnacle of the career. Absolutely fantastic. Uh, so I think the point which you had mentioned, if I've summarized it, it's like, staying ahead of the curve is absolutely important for any success. And you had also mentioned, the continuous learning, the learning agility, which not
Yes.
only involves adapting to the present, but also, anticipating the future. And the technological advancements and, if I say, emerging trends today are the catalysts that are reshaping the landscape of the procurement, often presenting sometimes challenges, sometimes opportunities. So to gain a deeper understanding of what lies, I'll come back to you, Mr. Bhagwani, once again. And my question is, what emerging trends or technologies do you see reshaping the future of procurement? And how should one be preparing himself or herself for these changes?
Today world is data driven and is getting increasingly connected. What didn't used to be possible earlier is now very easy. For example, outsourcing of design. Earlier, either you could do it in house or you have to do it from a nearby designer. Now, a person sitting in New York can give you design. Of course, the cost here will not favor, rather, the reverse is possible. A person sitting in New York can outsource the design from an Indian. So, these are the growing. I mean, as we get more connected, as the borders become more and more porous, and as the trade opens further, these will become more and more opportunity, and technology is going to facilitate all these trends. It has been in last several years we have been seeing these changes, and it is going to continue that way. Secondly, we'll have to look at whatever we are doing in terms of how we can add more value to it. The value could be in terms of money, in terms of reducing the cost of our operation or production or the service. It can also be in terms of the offering or enhancing the value of the company where we are working. So coming to the cost part of it, as the competition is growing, as the data is more and more data is available, as the things are getting more integrated, it is possible to work now much more efficiently than what was earlier possible when the communication and the reaction times was, I mean, in terms of days, and now it is in terms of minutes and hours. So efficiency is growing day by day. So value proposition that way is increasing. During our functions, we can continue and we can see what are the emerging or what are more activities or what activities can be further clubbed, which will further enhance the value proposition. So all along, we'll have to work on primarily these two lines in terms of making our operations more efficient, lesser costly, or reduction in the cost, at the same time enhancing the company value, its quality of service, its quality of the product, its quality of its timely service. Those propositions will further drive the company performance, and in turn the performance of those associated with the company, those working in the company.
Thank you, Mr. Bhagwani. I think the point is very, very valid. How, as a procurement professional, we should be thinking of adding value propositions, not only to the bottom line, but the top line as well. Jonathan, Manoj had mentioned continuous learning and adaptability. Now, in a world which is characterized now by rapid technological advancement, ever-changing compliances, regulations, and evolving market dynamics, the importance of continuous learning and adaptability cannot be overlooked. You being, coming from a L&D background, how important is continuous learning and adaptability for professionals looking to advance their career in procurement? What's your views on this?
Yeah, I think first off, what I would say, it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important across most professions, but even more so with procurement. And that's because of the immense changes that procurement is going through and will continue to go through, especially with digital transformation, and how technology will change the landscape and also enable the landscape of procurement. And finally, this results in the need to develop new skills, competencies, remain abreast with trends within procurement. I think the broader supply chain picture, if you look at that, it's constantly with risk, proactive and reactive. When I say proactive, I'm saying that there are risks that we can manage to a certain extent, like seasonal shortages, but then you've got events that are completely reactive, like COVID and the Ukrainian war, and that results in inflation. And so we need to be able to adapt. I think having up-to-date knowledge and skills that reinforce critical thinking in this space is key to flexibility. Something else I want to mention is just talking about learning, and I think learning how best to learn is key if you want to fast-track your career in procurement. I would say you get two types of learning. You get incidental learning and you get intentional learning. And the incidental learning is the things we learn every day, but we don't necessarily apply it. It doesn't necessarily help develop skills. What we want to focus on, and what I would recommend, is focusing on intentional learning. And this is where you really put time aside to focus on your skills development. And that requires focus, it requires practice, it requires reflection. And those that do it well will be the ones that will be able to accelerate their careers in procurement. I think it's also key to take responsibility for managing one's own learning, especially in the gig economy. And urgency and speed is required. The pace of change, the pace of the competition, it's increasing, and things like artificial intelligence and emerging technologies will only just accelerate this to keep up to speed. I think the ability to see the bigger picture, like I've said before, I always come back to the bigger picture, think systemically, solve novel problems that we haven't come across before, and also adapting to change is core to unlocking value in this profession and as a procurement professional.
Great. So unleash the potential is the message which you are trying to give, Jonathan. Dr. Vinoth, you mentioned that healthcare procurement professionals require a distinct set of characteristics and probably the skill set. I'm curious to understand what career development opportunities exist for an individual who is interested in pursuing a career in healthcare procurement. And if at all they are interested, how can they gain the necessary knowledge and experience? Dr. Vinoth,
You are
am I
muted.
audible to you?
Yeah,
Hi.
you are audible. I think Vinod is mute.
Okay.
The individuals who are all aspiring to pursue a career in healthcare procurement, they can explore various career development opportunities, and and they can acquire essential knowledge and experience through either by formal education. Many universities and colleges, they are all offering degree and postgraduate programs in healthcare management, or in supply chain management. Even in healthcare management, they can go for specialization in supply chain management. And enrolling in this kind of programs can provide a very strong academic foundation. Then additionally, they can pursue certifications such as like certified professional in supply management from premier professional bodies like ISM, to validate their expertise in health in procurement. And on the job training, on the job experience is invaluable for understanding the nuances of the healthcare procurement. So they can start with the entry level positions, and gradually they can work their way up. And networking, join professional associations to connect with the experienced procurement professionals, and they can attend conferences, seminars, and training. And next is through seeking mentorship from the seasoned healthcare procurement experts who can guide them well, and who can provide insightful information about the procurement practices and the latest trends in healthcare sector. And and through continuing education also, like staying connected, updated on industry trends and regulations through attending seminars, workshops, and online courses offered by professional institutions. So overall, a combination of education, certification, and practical experience, networking, and mentorship, and ongoing learning can prepare individuals for a successful and a rewarding career in healthcare procurement.
I think that's true for not only for the healthcare sector, but then it's true for any other industrial sector too. So that's very well said. Manoj, I'd come back to you. You mentioned that when you were joining procurement, or like joining an organization as trainee, people were talking about 5-year, 10-year plan. So these plan, I believe, were the roadmaps to the success, guiding individuals toward their career aspiration. And probably, if you're talking about organizational perspective, they were like, the long-term strategic plan. But then let's explore the insights and strategies that can help aspiring procurement professionals to chart their course to success, like you. And so, according to you, what should a well structured professional development plan in procurement should look like? And how one can tailor such plans to meet their career goals or career aspirations?
Okay. So I'll combine both the questions and answer it. Professional
That's
development
perfectly fine.
plan, yeah. Professional development plan, PDP, sometimes we call it as IDP also. This professional development plan actually starts with your own assessment. First of all, like when I started my career, and rather when I meet the CXOs, typically into procurement, supply chain, and in fact, the CEOs who have really, have spent considerable amount of time of their career, or considerable period of their time of career in procurement or supply chain. What they started their when they started their journey, it was with the assessment, your self assessment, where exactly you are, what is that you want to, rather what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. Like when I did my assessment, I realized that no, I was lacking in, portraying myself as a potential value creator for as a supply chain individual, as a procurement professional, or as a material management expert, as you call it. So presentation was something which I was lacking. which typically is a phenomena is been experienced in many of the back-end functions like procurement. So that was the area of improvement which I saw. I think there is some background noise coming. Uh, yeah. So then understand your strengths, focus on your areas of improvement. That is, the individuals can do that, start their journey with. Then decide your goals. The goals should be, it should not be like tactical goals. Those should be strategic goals divided into a period of time, like next 5 years, next then 10 years, then 15 years, then 20 years. And that is must. Without goals, you cannot uh, achieve the, I can say, the desired level of your occupation, desired level of your position. Break the goals into different time frames, then decide the strategies to reach to those goals, to achieve those goals. Fine, in first 5 years I can aim to be a purchasing manager, as a procurement professional, as a procurement manager, as a material manager, or whatever. So in those 5 years, what I need to do, first I have done my assessment, I have done my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities analysis, my area of improvement. Now, to reach up to that particular goal of first 5 years, what I should do? Should I acquire the any knowledge? Should I get associated with any particular association, like mingle with the people, become a member of association like ISM, a supply chain institute, great supply chain institute like ISM, have good professional relationships with supply chain professionals, acquire some certifications like as Dr. Vinoth mentioned about CPSM. It's a great certificate. Rather, it's a great course because it really gives you lots of flavors or all sorts of aspects of materials management. And then every 5 years, when you are deciding your goals, you keep refining them. Okay, do not be very rigid that okay, in next 5 years, if I want to reach up to this particular stage, I will do only these things. Because see, market is moving several times faster than earlier. So probably, and it's very dynamic in nature. At times you may have to change your goals in between or change your strategies in between, maybe in for uh, once in 2 years, once in 3 years. Do that, and then acquire the resources that you want to achieve. What interventions you need, what resources you need to reach up to those goals. Okay, so resources could be in terms of anything, be it getting any business administration sort of certification, associating with any group who can keep on giving you the newer experiences, attached with different industry professionals. Today, like I am very much expert in engineering industry, but I do have associations with industries like agro industry is there, food industry is there. Even though I'm not expert, at least I know that what are the trends which are going in these industries, what are the impacts the commodities are creating in those industries, how is it going to impact me in my industry. So acquire the resources, and then you start monitoring your performance vis-a-vis the goals that you have decided, vis-a-vis the strategies that you have planned, and keep on doing a continual improvement. Take some steps, monitor the performance, step back if you feel that there are some corrections required, and then again move ahead. Always focus on your long term intent, and with respect to that long term intent, align that intent with your the strategies that you are planning every 5 years. So that's how the professional development plan looks like, starting with assessment, goal setting, uh, planning certain strategies, acquiring the resources, monitoring the performance, correcting the goals, or correctly refining your I can say, goals or refining your strategies and reaching to the desired level of your dream.
Thank you, Manoj, for very, very insightful answer. And with the wealth of experience, available in this panel, I think we can continue talking and then sharing our insights and experiences. But then there is a constraint. We are bound by the time. So I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to all my panelists before I really open the house to answer the audience questions. But if I need to reflect on today's discussion, the one thing which comes out very clearly that the sustainability, transparency, visibility, and the need for resilience in supply chains have become more critical, thereby making procurement a dynamic and forward-looking career. So on that note, I really like to express my sincere thanks to this panel, and I'm hopeful that this panel discussion has provided valuable insights and inspiration to our audience. So thank you once again to our panelists, our audience, and all those who have contributed to this enlightening conversation. Now let's continue to explore, innovate, and shape the future of procurement together. Now, safe journeys on your respective career paths, and may you all find fulfillment and success in the dynamic world of procurement. So before I say goodbye, over to you, Pamela, for in case if you have any question from the audience, which we would like to throw it back to the panelist. I think I have an access to the chat box. So if you allow me, can I read the questions? Yeah. So the question is, there is a huge difference between profile for healthcare, IT sector, energy sector procurement professionals. How to become more effective procurement professionals for all the sectors put all together? Can I ask Manoj to answer this question? Quickly, we are nearing to the closing time.
Okay. So see, it's a long journey. Okay. You can become expert in all the industries, in all the sectors, but start with one sector. Of course, you have to stay there for some time, acquire all the business acumen that is needed, uh, understand the entire business flow, how the business function, what are the challenges that business is facing, how you can add value to it, and parallelly, as I mentioned, keep a great connect with all the other industries. Remember, team, the participants, the procurement is a really a unique function where the logic, the concepts, the deliverables to a large extent remains same across all the industries. Okay, there might be some variations here and there, but largely they remain the same. So that's the beauty of this function. So first, stay in one particular function in one particular industry, acquire a good amount of knowledge, and then once you acquire knowledge of other industries also, with the help of certifications, once you have a certifications, global certifications, obviously the doors will be open for you to any type of industry. Fine, there might be some resistance initially when you start getting the calls for interviews, or once you start getting interviewed by the professionals or the employers of other industries. But then, how you can add value, how you can be a value creator, if you can explain them very nicely with the way the business, your existing business has been functioning, and the way you have created or transformed the supply chain function in your current industry, that will create a great impact in the other industry experts also, and they will definitely consider you as a potential candidate. That's my take on this.
Absolutely, take on. Thank you, Manoj. I think the next question is meant for Mr. Bhagwani. No other person can answer this question better than Mr. Bhagwani. So, as procurement becomes more strategic, how do you see the relationship between procurement and other business functions evolving, such as finance and supply chain? The cross functional collaboration between procurement and the other functions.
for procurement to become successful, we need to work more in team. Only then the procurement becomes ultimately successful. And many times during our course, we have to devise methods, we have to devise strategies, we have to devise some ways, and sometimes we have to change them also depending upon what is needed. As regards the organization, finance, or other department is concerned, the role or the objective is very, very clearly given and it is known to everybody. Maybe we need to bring that into focus repeatedly whenever that is lost or gets slightly diffused. So that is the point number one, which becomes, so we have to be focused on the objective, and whatever we are doing is necessary that we take the others also in confidence. There may be certain measures which where we may be charting a new course, we may be trying and experimenting something. It is better to discuss with them and, if needed, take their views into account and then suitably implement it. Once we start acting as a team, it becomes rather easy to sell this not only to the organization but also to the larger group of people or to the suppliers and to the others, because it has been comprehensively examined from various angles. So after we do that, we should then probably interact with the outsiders, suppliers, vendors, and taking their view into account, we can ultimately start moving ahead. Over the period, once we keep doing this, the confidence will grow in this team. And this is how the entire team will make difference.
Thank you, Mr. Bhagwani. And my last question, because we are left with only 3 minutes, so quickly to Jonathan, and I am expecting really a short answer. Now, what challenges do you foresee in the future of procurement, and how can professionals stay agile and adapt to these challenges?
Well, I think firstly, we need to embrace change and not resist it, because procurement will be going through change and it will be in flux, and that will be the norm. I think digital transformation is going to fundamentally change the way we work, the way we need to interact with one another. But we need to see this as an opportunity and not a risk, and embrace these new technologies. I also think we need to, once again, just really look at what are the strategic objectives of the organization and make sure that we're aligning our thinking and our practices with the organization. I think that's key. And once again, it's procurement has become more broader, more complex in terms of its reach and responsibilities, and sometimes these are conflicting priorities. So really being able to navigate, have good collaborative relationships internally and externally, I think that's key.
Great, Jono, for sharing your insights. I think if I summarize our entire insightful discussion, the one piece which comes out very clearly that, now, in case if you would like to bring up your career as a trusted value advisor to the business, choose procurement as a profession. Choose procurement as a career. So on that note, over to you, Pamela. Thank you very much, panelists and lovely audience. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Malik.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Malik and esteemed panelists, for this enriching exchange. Thank you so much. So we'll move on to the next session. Now I would like to invite Mr. Vinay Sharma, former Global Director, Senior Advisor Procurement